Well, welcome into NHL Tonight. First shift for June the 17th, 2025. The beaches of South Florida.
Is that you?
No, I was actually at the Marlins game last night. That was a lot of fun. Beautiful building where the Marlins play. But we are here at the Amerant Bank Arena. Get you ready for Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Welcome in, everybody. E.J. Hradek alongside Brian Boyle. I gave him a day or two off.
Yeah, I needed a rest.
Didn't make that trip to Edmonton.
No, I needed a rest.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm not an everyday guy.
No, you are an everyday guy. But well, listen, you got a lot of things going on. How was your day or two there that you got to spend at home?
It's great. I
Nice.
got the morning. Actually changed my flight, so I had the morning for Father's Day.
Awesome.
And
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
Thank you very much.
It
You
was
had a nice
wonderful.
day?
Oh, it was great. And then flew down here, nice and easy. Didn't have to grind through the connections
Good.
that some of the other staff crew members had to deal with. But we're here.
Yes.
There's no excuses. It's a Cup Finals.
Yes. Yeah, I was very fortunate. I got to fly with Tim Schultz, an outstanding flying companion, although I think I saw him one time. That was it. So that's the way it goes. But
Timmy.
Fun flights. We made it. Yeah, Timmy's part of our group. He's one of our guys.
It's Timmy.
One of our guys. That's the way it goes. All right, let's get to first things first, all right? Let's get to it because the Stanley Cup is in the house tonight. It is in the building. You know, I like that the Stanley Cup has its own X feed, whatever you want to call it. That's nice.
It's impressive. No thumbs.
Yeah, I know. Really,
still send posts on X.
Really impressive. And the Florida Panthers are trying to do something tonight that, it's pretty impressive. Right now, within the last 10 years, we've had two other teams do it. The Penguins and the Lightning both were able to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Prior to that, you had to go to the late 90s with the Red Wings team. Great teams. Penguins in the early 90s. Of course, those Edmonton teams. Then you go back in time, Islanders, Canadians, different franchises. But very difficult to do in a salary cap era where guys are coming and going all the time. And it'll be very interesting to see. The building will be jacked tonight, I'm sure. And, with the players, they've been through this once. I just think the players are, they've been talking for a while now, all throughout these playoffs. Stay in the moment. Yeah. Stay present. Worry about today. I think these guys, they're ready for the challenge tonight.
You have to understand how much pressure is put on the situation. So if you try to think ahead or think of other things that you might not necessarily be able to control, it's wasted energy. And they don't need to waste any more energy because, yes, they're going for a back-to-back Stanley Cup. This is their third Stanley Cup in a row that a lot of these guys have been to. The physical toll that takes on you is crazy. It's so impressive how they've been able to just stay focused on the task at hand, and they're getting contributions from so many different guys. I love the demeanor that they're showing, and the Florida Panthers, I love sort of their attitude. And you're seeing a little bit that with Edmonton as well, and they're on the brink of it again, of going all the way to the Cup Finals and losing, but they still seem pretty even keel as well.
Yeah, and they know they've been in this situation in the past, and they've been able to win an important game when everything's on the line. And, I'll ask you as a player, because I think it's human nature, right? For the Oilers, they know it's now or never, right?
Yes.
For the Florida Panthers, they could win the Stanley Cup tonight. But in the back of their mind, as human beings, they know they get another crack at it, even if they don't win tonight.
It's a little bit of insurance, but I'm pretty sure they probably don't want to get back on the bird and fly up to Alberta. And that's all that Edmonton wants to do. It's one game for them because that's all they can do.
Edmonton, so that's a little edge, isn't it? Just a little
you can't win the Cup. The Cup's not there for you.
That's right.
So try and get yourself in a position where the Cup could be there for you.
Yeah, there you go. And, it's funny. We talk about this, and, I got to talk to the coaches this morning, and you have the big press assembly. Then we do a little rights holders thing afterwards. And, but Paul Maurice in the big assembly, it was funny. He was asked the question, and the guy had asked the question to a couple of the guys about, how does it feel in the morning of a Stanley Cup. Let's get that one up for you, and let's listen to this because Paul Maurice, I thought he handled it really well.
Paul, what does it feel like waking up in the morning knowing that you could win the Stanley Cup?
I think you asked me that 4 times last year. It feels just fine, thank you.
So, again, that experience, having been there and understanding what it is, and, you could see how things went last year when they were up 3-0. There was all that excitement. I think they flew people in to Edmonton for Game 4 to get to see them get waxed 8-1. But you can see the scores, and then finally in Game 7, Florida was able to close it out. But, I think the fact that the Florida Panthers, John Cooper said it earlier in the playoffs after the Lightning lost to the Panthers, and I've talked to other players who've won multiple cups before, and once you've done it, there's a feeling that you know what it takes, and it is an advantage. And I think that we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it has to play out on the ice, but I do think the Florida Panthers, they know how to do it.
They understand the challenge, and they understand attacking that challenge and not being scared of victory. It's sort of a harder thing to quantify, but they know the feeling. They know what they're after. There's less unknown. And they can sort of compartmentalize and understand that if we go out, win our first shift, forecheck the right way, that's all that they're worried about. It's not, I wonder what happens if we get down, or I wonder if we have a 2-goal lead, or what's the crowd going to sound like when they hand us the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. They know how that feels, and they know how hard it is to get there. So I guess lessons learned through last year, and they won the Cup. It's incredible. And they lost the year before to Vegas, right? So there's a number of different lessons that they've learned along the way that's going to make it a really tough opponent for Edmonton.
The mantra they always have is that we prepare to play 7 games every series. And I think that does take a little pressure off, because the idea is hey, we're going to lose some along the way.
They're conditioned.
They're
conditioned for it.
In the end, when it comes down to it in Game 7, we'll find a way to win. And they did that last year. They did it in the series against Toronto earlier this year, so they've been able to find ways. On the other side of the coin for the Edmonton Oilers, they've had to juggle, right? They've had to juggle their goalies. They've had to juggle their lineup. Here's the news from Sportsnet. I don't know if it was a big surprise, but Stuart Skinner will start for the Oilers in game number 6. And this morning, both Stuart Skinner and the head coach talked about the decision.
Yeah, it's huge. Feeling good coming into tonight. Definitely know that I have the confidence in my teammates and coaching staff, and I think there's obviously a lot of belief still. My job's to do what my job is, to stop the puck when I'm told to go in the net. Sometimes I get told that I'm not. For sure, it's disappointing. I want to be the guy that's in all the time. I wish I could help these guys every single night. It's hard watching from the bench. But I just got to stick to what I know, what my job is. That's kind of over my pay grade. So whenever they tell me to go in the net, I'm definitely not going to say no.
Stu's been in a lot of high-pressure games. He's played really well. You look at the amount of elimination games he's played. I think there's 6 last year, and every single game that he played in were really solid, if not spectacular performances. So the game season's on the line. We have a lot of confidence in him.
And it's interesting too, because I was at that presser this morning, and Leon Draisaitl talked about Skinner getting pulled, and he said, he goes, Stuart Skinner played really well in that first period. He said he played great.
Absolutely.
He goes, we let him down. And so, because he was asked about having the confidence in Skinner, and you can see here, when facing elimination, a .910 save percentage in the Cup final, .935. That's as good as it gets. So, they seem to have a lot of confidence in Skinner, as they would with those numbers. What do you make of the decision?
Well, it's the least surprising thing. I thought that he was definitely going to play Game 6 after how Game 5 unfolded, and it's just because that I think he has the talent and the ceiling.
A higher ceiling
It's
than
a
Pickard.
little higher than Cal Pickard. It's nothing against Cal Pickard, because he's come in and done some great things in a tough spot.
Yeah. Only lost once in the whole playoffs.
Right. I just think in the numbers here, they're not great for either goaltender, but you expect as a head coach in an elimination game where your season's on the line, you're going to make lineup decisions based on, I guess, potential and what the ceiling is, and expect these guys to rise to the occasion and bring their absolute best. And if everybody does that, that's going to give you the best chance to win. You're not asking Stuart Skinner to go in and be something that he's not. He's played at a high level before. You're not going to ask Kasperi Kapanen to go and be Connor McDavid. But in Game 1 of this series, Kasperi Kapanen was very dangerous. So there's different lineup decisions that I think Knoblauch's made, and he's done it right, because I don't think he necessarily has the depth up front, the scoring punch up front, as Paul Maurice does with his forward lines.
Yeah, it's a great situation to be in if you're Paul Maurice. They don't have to change much, right? I don't think he's changed anything in in this Cup final, right? And he's got Sergei Bobrovsky, who's going to play right to the end, no matter what.
Right.
And the defense has been healthy. They had a little bit of an injury issue in the third round, but Reinhardt's been back healthy, and Rodriguez. So it's a great spot to be in. And I mentioned to you earlier, the Florida Panthers, right? They have 9 forwards.
This is crazy.
9 forwards that have 15 or more points in the playoffs. That is some offensive depth for sure. The Edmonton Oilers have 3, and that's it. And so that's maybe the difference in this whole thing, is that the healthy Florida Panthers, the deeper Florida Panthers, have been able to take advantage. But it is hockey, and we'll see how it goes tonight for the Oilers. The Oilers made some other lineup changes tonight, and I don't think they're all that surprising. John Klingberg comes back in on the back end, and up front, as you mentioned, Kasperi Kapanen comes back in the lineup, and I was kind of surprised he came out, to be honest with you. I thought he played okay. May had a huge assist on a big goal in the third period of game number 4. I didn't really understand why he came out. This team, they really do miss Zach Hyman this time of year, and it's starting to show a little bit more. And then you can see on the blue line, Stetcher comes out, Klingberg comes in. I just think they just don't have a better option right now. So that's what it is. They're hoping that Klingberg, with a couple of games off, will be dialed in, and we'll just try to move pucks quickly. But certainly he was a target of the Florida Panthers in game number 3. That's why he came out of it. We'll see if he's able to come back in and be a factor tonight.
Yeah, well, he can, and I like him on the offensive blue line. And as you mentioned, there's not a ton of scoring going up and down the lineup. There's a ton of scoring at the top of the lineup in Edmonton, for obvious reasons, but some more depth guys. And if you can get Klingberg walking the line, Waldman's done it too. They've done it in an almost arrogant way at times. They're going to have to do it again. They're going to be mistakes that they're going to have to live with. This is what they are. This is how the team is constructed, especially on the back end. But John Klingberg, at his best, can create offensively. He can add offense, whether it's breaking out of his own zone or on the offensive blue line. He can add offense, and you just have to hope a couple games off. You know, he's dealt with injuries in the past. Maybe that was catching up to him a little bit in this playoff series. Maybe he's feeling better. Maybe he can give you just a little bit more than he has so far.
You know, it's interesting because both Coach Knobloch and Leon Draisaitl this morning did refer to the idea that we've got to get in front in these games. We have to get the lead in these games because they have been trailing. You know, the series we talked about, there's 3 overtime games, so it appears close. Look at this. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers have had the lead for 33 minutes of the 233 minutes played, 234 minutes played in this series. It's just hard to play. Like the Edmonton Oilers, you know, everybody asked them earlier, they keep asking us, can we defend? We defend well. Yeah. It's not easy to defend when you're chasing the game, and that's what they're doing constantly in this series.
It's interesting because if you look at the starts, you'd say that Florida has the better of the starts. If you want to go to the very start of a lot of these games, the Oilers come out like a house on
fire.
Had
a couple of good shifts. You're right. Chris Knobloch has said that repeatedly.
And then all of a sudden when it doesn't go in or Bob makes that, it's a game-saving save in the first shift sometimes. That allows Florida to get to their game, to understand we can't let them do that again. They learn their lesson quickly, and they grind Edmonton down. And when you see McDavid go in on breakaways and miss, or when you see different guys, you know, Connor Brown had a breakaway early and they just can't score. It's depleting right from the outset of the game. You spend all this time preparing and getting yourself motivated, and you know there's the rah-rah in the locker room, and you're slashing each other and you're cross-checking each other, you're getting ready to go, and you're all excited. Here's the breakaway. Here's our chance to get the lead. And then there's Bob.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, the thing for me is, as I watch the Edmonton Oilers, they can't sustain any offensive zone pressure. They go long stretches in games here where they can't get the puck in deep and really work the Florida defense over, because they're playing that stretch game, which, you know, works for them, but it has to be precise. You have to make that clean first pass, a direct pass, to make the timing work, and Florida has done just enough, forcing guys to flip the puck, kind of messing up the timing. And when you're not hitting on that stretch game, you're not able to really create offensive zone time. And when you're not in the offensive zone, chances are you're not winning.
If you can get shoot-ins with 2 and 3 layers of guys, or 2 or 3 lanes of guys moving across the blue line with momentum, it's awfully hard to break out. If Florida's defenseman's escape toe caps are facing away from the offensive net, it's like a 30% breakout rate, right? So if the Florida Panthers have time, because you have to stop at the blue line, they have time to break a puck out, and their toes are facing your net, it's getting out 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And those are the numbers across the league, and Florida's probably one of the best teams at it. They'll get rid of it. There's no risk. We saw it at Rogers Place where Edmonton in games 1 and 2 had great first and third periods, and they were disjointed in the second period. They had their forecheck going there because everybody was connected. When they get a little disconnected or when they're chasing, they get disconnected, the forecheck goes completely away. It's feast or famine. They're looking for the home run play, and it has not worked.
And then, like, the forecheck is kind of almost willy-nilly. Like, they're hoping, like, they get it in. They're hoping. It's a
left winger from the third line, and it's
Yeah.
2 other guys from the second line because they're changing, and it's all disjointed, and it's not the way to play.
Yeah, and that, another thing, too, that Chris Knobloch told me, is because somebody asked him about going for the lead tonight, trying to get McDavid and Draisaitl out there together early, right, and go to that nuclear option, as they call it, early. Well, he said, that's great. He goes, most of the time, it's always about game situation when we do things like that, but he did mention the fact. He goes, in previous rounds, we had Zach Hyman with Kane and Nugent Hopkins. He goes, we were getting a lot of that group. He was basically referring to the fact that we had a little more depth. We were getting a little more out of our group, and so it made it easier for us to double those guys up. A little more difficult now because look at it. I mean, like, what are they getting out of Henrique? What are they getting out of Frederick? What are they getting out of Skinner? Skinner played okay when he came in, but, like, Podkolzin has been kind of up and down. Janmark, Brown is back the other way. So, we'll see how this all plays out tonight, but they've got to get more contributions from the bottom half of that lineup.
Yeah, the bottom 6, and Adam Henrique specifically, he's had big moments in playoffs in his career. He needs to show up. He needs to make a difference. His name needs to be said a lot tonight because that'll give Knobloch the opportunity to load up on that top line. You can move, you can slide Henrique up. It's the depth, that third line, and Mike Rupp says it a lot. Show me your third line, I'll show you a Stanley Cup contender. And that third line's good. They've had moments this year where they've been good. They just need to do it now.
Yeah, and well, we know one thing, that when push comes to shove in these elimination games, Connor McDavid brings it. I mean, it's ridiculous here. Here it is, highest points per game in elimination games in NHL history, the minimum of 5. I mean, there's some really great players on that list. Good to see Ronnie Wilson on the back of that list.
Yeah, the Rat's there, too. Kenny Lindsay.
Oh, well, a big game player, right? I mean, those are the guys. And but Connor McDavid, 1.64 points per game. And you can see Leon Draisaitl just off the edge of that list at 1.36. But we know those guys will bring it. They were kind of quiet in game number 5. I don't know if the wear and tear of the travel, of all that's gone on, impacted them. I think it's more that when they're chasing the game, there's so much, they're trying to do things, and there's no room. The Panthers can defend. It makes it so much easier. When you're leading, you can sit back and clog the neutral zone and make it hard for those guys.
Well, it's not every shift, every single moment of every shift where you think, I have to score right now. When you have the lead, you can almost let the other team force those things, and they'll break down, and that's when these guys get their options. Florida knows they're coming. And they're still forcing their way through to be productive players. Now, Leon did look tired. He looked tired in Game 5. They had a couple days. The extra day of rest might help him.
Yeah.
But all the things we've mentioned, the bottom 6, the deep pair, the changes, Stuart Skinner, it's not going to matter if those 2 guys don't have the game of their life.
Yeah.
We're asking a lot because they've been pretty good, and we just showed the stat that Connor's been the best.
Listen, that's why they're here, right? I mean, let's face it. This is a team, the Florida Panthers, they've got some high-end players too, no question about it, but they've got that deeper group. As I mentioned, 9 forwards with 15 points or more. I mean, that says it right there. The Oilers lean on those 2 guys, and that's how good they are, that they can get you all the way to the Stanley Cup final when maybe you don't have that deep team that Florida has on the other side.
They're classic superstars, and they're worth the price of admission. I'm thankful that I get to watch them and cover them because that is how good they are. That is why Edmonton is here.
Yeah.
And a few other guys make some contributions. They're a very dangerous team.
Yeah. What was it like to play against those guys?
So my first time playing against Connor, I told him I was excited to be on the ice with him, and I would rather be on the bench watching. And he was very confused, thinking I was chirping him. I'm like, I'm serious. I don't want to be on the ice with you. I like being on the ice with you. And then I got a couple warnings from the officials because every time he went by me, I would freehand grab his jersey. And I think it was Kelly Sutherland said, don't do it again or I have to call you. And I just looked at him and I said, you have to call me.
You're going to have to call me.
I can't let him go.
I can't stay with him.
He's too fast. He's too fast.
How about Leon?
Leon was freakishly strong. I never had much issues pushing guys
strong guy,
off
right?
the puck. Yeah, and that was part of one of my skill sets. And I remember he just put his free arm out, and it felt like I ran into a Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
How does he just with one arm? I kind of fell back.
He's thrown a couple of guys off.
He's
in these
freakishly
playoffs.
strong. He's freakishly strong, and he's equally dangerous on his backhand, which just adds. You just feel exposed when you're going to play him and trying to shut him down because you think you're full of holes and he can hit you any different way.
All right, I'll ask you about one more guy and then we get to break. But like Barkov, because I'm watching him practice today, and like you're a big man, and he's not as big as you, but he looks like a monster on the ice on the skates, and like he must be a handful.
So you think 6'5", 235, freakishly strong as well, but body control, his quickness, and then his stick. His stick was probably 3 or 4 inches longer than mine.
Yep.
And it just came out of
javelin.
nowhere for you. As a 19, 20-year-old in the league, he was elite defensively, and he would take pucks away from players. He'd have takeaways all over the ice. I thought that was the hardest thing for a lot of young guys coming into the league to learn. He had it right away.
Yeah.
And then he could put you in a blender with his offensive ability.
Yeah.
So there's no box that Barkov doesn't check. And it's not like you can wear him down with hits and stuff because he's so strong and he's durable. It's just, a handful. If you do a good job against Sasha Barkov, that's great. That's one game. He's going to play better the next game, and you're still going to be icing your body down because that's how much it takes.
Yeah, no question about it. Paul Maurice likes to say his team he's not a hard match guy, but I'm going to assume we're going to see Barkov head up against McDavid a lot, and they has done well. I mean, McDavid has the one goal, but I think after 5 games, I think Paul Maurice and company would certainly take that at this stage of the game. Let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to get the parlay coming up.
Stay hot.
It's back. JD has been hot as a pistol. He's had 2 of 3, going to hit again tonight. Make some money for our friends out there. That's next on First Shift. It's time for the Top Line Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And with that, of course, we welcome in our erstwhile producer, J.D. Lindbergh, who has been hot with his picks during the Cup final. 2 of 3, I believe. And they had to cut him off for a while because there was some concern.
Getting strange phone calls.
Wanted to make sure they stay in business. Right. And but now he's back. So, JD, take it away.
All righty, E.J. Yes, 2 for 3 in the Cup final. We're up 11 units if that's your bag. Research confirms that's pretty darn good. So we're going to try and stay hot for the shifties out there. Fen to the big board, please. First up, Oilers. First period puck line. They're catching half a goal, so we like the Oilers to be tied or leading after 1. Everybody's been talking about it. This is a key to this series. They've been getting caved in the first period. Look at, just goals per game in the first period here. They haven't scored a goal in the first period the last 3 games. They're way underwater. Need the Oilers to get off to a better start. They know that is key tonight. So we like the Oilers catching half a goal in the first period. Back to the big board, Fen. Evan Bouchard's been good to me in this Cup final. I've had Bouchard in every single one of these parlays I've done. 4 or more shots on net. Fen, show him why I like this one. He's 30 shots on net in the Cup final. This is Bobby Orr numbers, right? Like, lock 4+ shots on net. The Oilers get the pucks to the net. Boosh. Doesn't need to be the big Boosh bomb. Just get him on net for me. Connor McDavid, anytime goal. It's only plus 150, but I had to throw it in there. 97 is going to show up in the biggest moments. And check this out from our guy, Lawrence Goldstein, the illustrious LG back here. He's been getting a little unlucky. All the expected goals here, he's got 3 expected goals in this Cup final. He's only scored once. He hit the post in Game 5. McDavid kind of getting it going. He's going to be shooting the puck tonight. He's got to get on the board. And then finally, you guys touched on this one. Adam Henrique, anytime point. That third line, Skinner, Henrique, and Frederick. How could I forget my boy Trent Frederick briefly there? They got to get something going here. Their time on ice, 2 goals, no goals against. Boiler, you hit on him. Adam Henrique, clutch player. Got to get them going. Back to the big board, Fen here. This is a big game hunting parlay today. Plus 2,100 each. Fellas, what do you think of it?
Well, I mean, I think it is. There's no question. It is. You are going big game hunting, but you do have a little bit of change in the purse to go ahead and do that. I don't know if I like that Oilers to have the tide or have the lead because they haven't. I'm with you on Bouchard, but Bouchard's only had 3 shots in each of the last 2 games, which I find kind of surprising, although in last game was a very low-event game, low shot total, so that makes some sense. But I think you could stick with Bouchard there.
Yeah.
How about the McDavid goal? I guess the Henrique anytime point is a tricky one, too.
It is, but I understand the concept because JD wants that line to get going, and Edmonton and Chris Knobloch and that line wants to get going. They have to get something done. They are due. They're overdue. They need to get something done.
That's a little bit of, that's the one thing I worry about is that due theory when it comes to they're due. Right. Sometimes they're not due for a longer time than you think.
Well, there's a reason they haven't contributed as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they're overmatched.
That's correct.
I think Adam Henrique, just knowing him, and he's broken my heart before.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
There's more in that tank. You never underestimate what a competitor like him can do.
How about Evander Kane? Let me ask you about him because he came in, he didn't play all year.
Right.
He shows up in game 2 against LA. He was a factor against LA. Remember, he's that scramble in front of the net. He knocks that puck in. There was the whole thing. Was it a goal? Wasn't it a goal? But he was more of a factor in some of these early series. In this series, he's been a factor in a negative way. He's taken a number of bad penalties, and then he has been sitting watching. Right. So they move him back up tonight. I would think Evander Kane, he's got to make a statement tonight. He's got to play hard. He's got to be physical, but he's got to keep his stick on the ice.
Stick down. Keep your stick down. He's had a
number of high sticking penalties, just sloppy.
There's a few moments in the game where I would critique Evander Kane and just getting pucks out. There's battles in his own zone. Those are non-negotiable. You just have to advance it past the blue line. And he wants to do a number of different things. He's shooting. He's creating with speed. He can do a number of different things. But the non-negotiables have to be there. And that's every single line. They have to get it out because if you give Florida an opportunity to save a forecheck right at the edge of the blue line and they don't have to tag up and they can come right back down your throat, it's not good news for Edmonton. And that's what they've been doing. Those are momentum killers. The high-sticking penalties are momentum killers. These guys are going to take whatever you throw at them and come back for more shifts. So it's not, the intimidation isn't quite there, but the brutal physicality, clean, can make a difference. If he gets in on the forecheck, and I feel like we've talked a lot about the lack thereof forecheck for Edmonton, if they can establish that with him, he's going to be a huge factor.
And, one other thing, too, and Trent Frederick did the same thing. Kane did it, and this is one of those things. I mean, Florida, and from playing, sometimes you just have to take what they give you. Yeah. The Florida Panthers, they get the neutral zone clogged up. For Trent Frederick or Evander Kane to be of the mind that they're going to be able to beat guys and come into the zone and make plays, I don't know if they think it's the exhibition season. I don't know where they think they are. It's the Stanley Cup final against a team that is really good defending. When that puck gets on the right side of the red line at center ice, chip it in, do it with purpose. Flip it in, go to the far corner, try to create some offensive zone time because they just have not had enough of it.
I want players playing with confidence. But if I'm Chris Knobloch, I'll show a clip from the Four Nations of Braden Point going on a 2-on-2 with a bad gap from the defenseman. He still could have skated it and cut back. He dumped it in. There was a commitment, and that's Braden Point, right? Yep. Multiple 40-goal scorer, 50 goals one year. These are, if it's Connor McDavid, he has the defenseman Ekblad doesn't have gap here. Yeah, he's going to carry it in. He has to do those things. Yeah. But if you're a forecheck heavy, finish your check kind of guy like a Trent Frederick or an Evander Kane. You got to welcome that little bad gap. Chip it in, make them get it first, and run them through the boards into the fifth row.
Yeah, get in there, get physical.
Yes, sir.
Get the party started in that corner, right? But if you're trying to carry it in, I mean, you turn it over the blue line, going the other way, and then it's nightmare.
It's hard to defend that, too.
You said it, non-negotiables.
Right.
That you got to have that in your game. The Oilers will have to have that really from those players. That's certainly those bottom 6 players can't turn the puck over at their own blue line and creating opportunities for the Florida Panthers going in the other direction. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Olympics. They named 6 players. All the countries got to name 6 players. A little early for that. Not surprising, some of the names that mentioned. We're going to talk about these high-end Olympians. That's next on First Shift.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FLY when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
"12 nations were asked for their preliminary rosters of 6 per country as we get ready for the Olympics in Italy in 2026. Less than a year away, and you can see of the teams that are here, the Panthers and the Oilers, there are 7 players that were named to those preliminary rosters. Not surprisingly, McDavid to Canada, Draisaitl to Germany, Matthew Tkachuk to the U.S., Barkov to Finland, Reinhart also to Canada. Congratulations to Sam to be the early mention. Nico Sturm to Germany, and Ubas Spolinskis to Team Latvia. I don't know that. I mean, really no surprises there. No. I mean, you brought up something interesting because Marchand was among the early people named to the 4 nations. And, you know, we talk about Sam Bennett, how he's playing well. He was on Team Canada as well. But both those guys are unrestricted free agents. Right. And the fact that they don't currently have contracts, maybe that was one of the things to consider when they were naming the 6.
Yeah, it could be. It's interesting, and some fan bases may or may not be feeling slighted. I think if you're a fan of Connor Hellebuck, you'd wonder maybe why wasn't he on.
Hart Trophy winner, Vezina Trophy winner.
Well, it's pretty legitimate. But for Marchand, he was named last year, and it was kind of like, well, that was early maybe, because there's a lot of young
older players.
Right. And now this year, it's kind of like all of the credentials that he's checked off since
then,
since
last
the 4
2 months.
nations.
Yeah. What you say earlier
about
he's only been on the ice for like 5-on-5.
His line's been on the ice for 4 goals against since March.
Yeah, Lundell and Luostarinen.
Against since March. We're in June. It's getting close to July now.
Yes,
it's a lot of hockey, but I think they maybe want to sell some jerseys. This is
it's a business.
It's an event.
Thing, right?
It is a business thing, and you can get guys that you can't really argue. You get guys that go out, you're going to make these jerseys up. It's a great gift for your kids. I'll probably end up having to buy a couple myself.
A couple of
USA
8 or
jerseys.
9.
Yeah, right. So it's exciting. The bottom line is this is very exciting. I know we have an elimination game tonight in the Stanley Cup Final, but we've been clamoring for Olympic hockey for so long. This is very exciting.
Yeah, no question about it. And I am just kind of amazed that they have to do it so early. And I get it's a business.
Yeah.
And that they have to name 6. I mean, I talked to Billy Guerin about it, and he's GM of Team USA, and, like, he doesn't love it either because, you know, especially teams like the U.S. and Canada that have a large player pool of elite players, right? You'd like to have more time so you have more flexibility with your roster because for whatever reason, sometimes guys get hurt and you can remove them if they get hurt, but sometimes guys just underperform and all of a sudden, and other guys overperform and they may earn a spot. So I don't like that they do it this early. I don't love that it's 6. 2, I think, would be sufficient, but at the end of the day, this is the way it is, and the teams act accordingly. It was interesting that Sweden put Gabriel Landeskog on their roster, and I think that tells you just the high level of which he is regarded for his character, his leadership. To be part of Team Sweden, obviously came back from that long recovery.
3 years.
Played well in the playoffs for the Avalanche. Hopefully he's going to continue his career and play very well. And right now it looks good. So we'll see where it goes. And if for some reason something happens and he can't go, they can remove him. But I'm really happy for Gabriel Landeskog because he is a quality person and a real competitor.
There's a lot of quality people on that Swedish team. And
you're right.
They are going to be motivated, especially after how it went for them at the 4 Nations face-off, you know, last winter. But I don't know. I get so excited. These were growing up and hearing stories of 1980, and then you'd seeing the NHL players in the Olympics and watching different events. It's the World Cup of Hockey, 96. All these events that just drew me to watch more hockey, learn different players' names. Now it's a little bit different. My son can watch everybody. He can watch every
That's right.
game.
The world has changed dramatically,
But it's still, it's the best product. The 4 Nations was some of the best hockey. Now we're seeing it again in the Cup Finals, but I'm very excited to see what kind of product they're going to put on the ice. These guys are very motivated. Playing for your country is something much different. And it's a huge honor, and the players always perform.
Yeah, looking forward to the Olympics coming up in February, no question about it. And Sam Bennett figures to be there as well. He was part of the Four Nations team. You can see his international competition. He won that Four Nations face-off. He had a goal, 9 shots in 3 games.
He was
Not
dominant
bad.
in that final game.
Gold medalist at the U18 World Championship in 2013. Gold medalist at the Ivan Hlinka Memorial, now known as the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. So he has had a lot of impact there. You know, it's an interesting year because he's been trying to manage, you know, the focus of the Cup final, and he's got a big decision to make moving forward. He was asked about that this morning. Here's what he said.
It's actually been pretty easy. I mean, competing for a Stanley Cup is always been my goal and my passion and what I've wanted to do. So that's just my focus. That's all I want, and it's been quite easy to just not even think about what's to come. I mean, yeah, it's really just a singular focus, and that's how I've tried to handle it.
15 goals for Sam Bennett here in this postseason, leads all goal scorers in the playoffs. Pretty impressive. And you can see here, notable pending UFAs for the Florida Panthers. They got some really significant names on that list. I mean, Aaron Ekblad was the first overall pick. Yep. He's been a Florida Panther since the get-go. Interesting to see. I mean, many feel that, like, with the addition of Seth Jones, that maybe Ekblad, that it's going to be too rich to keep Ekblad. The Marchand-Bennett situation, fascinating as well. I mean, because it's 2 guys that really are 1-2. If Florida wins the Stanley Cup, I mean, one of those 2 guys is going to win the Conn Smythe.
For sure. And we'll go back to what Sam Bennett said. That's not lip service, right? So I was in the conference finals when we had our first baby.
Yeah.
And spent a few hours at the hospital, gave my wife a kiss on the head, and went back to bed. And went and played in the conference finals games. This is, you sacrifice a lot, and the people around you sacrifice a lot. So yes, it is unnerving sometimes to play without a contract for the following year. But the magnitude of the Cup finals, when you're 1 game away for winning another Stanley Cup, that trumps everything. And it's not lip service from him.
Yeah.
He is the front runner right now for the Conn Smythe. If Brad Marchand has a big game, perhaps he
He's
wins
right
the Conn
there.
Smythe.
I mean, I think
there.
it probably could go either way with the voters. You never know exactly.
But I agree with you, Aaron
what they're
Ekblad.
thinking.
It's interesting with Ekblad because he's made quite a bit of money down here, and I think this is home for him. I don't want to speak for him or pretend to know what he's thinking, but something could be worked out. He's only 29 years old. He's played a lot of hockey, but he came in as that first overall. They asked a lot from him offensively. If he wants to be the best second pair defenseman on the best team in the league every year, you could negotiate with that. Sometimes the actual dollar amount could be manipulated a little
term,
bit.
right? I mean, I think that's the way when you're looking at, like, they did something like that with several of their players, including Gustav Forsling. He only makes, I mean, by the way that he plays, I mean, he's underpaid.
He was underpaid before the ink dried on that contract.
$5.5 million per season, somewhere in that neighborhood. But they gave him the term, and he wanted to have that guaranteed opportunity to earn money that he never had that chance to earn before. You know, Ekblad has made some money. I think if he gets to market, there will be a number of teams looking for a right shot guy that if they win a cup again, 2 Stanley Cups, been in 3 finals, you know, he can play in hard games, so that'll be a plus. You know, Marchand is another guy. I mean, like, what's the future for Brad Marchand? Like, you know, he loves it here, seemingly. But, you know, he turned down a pretty significant offer from the Boston Bruins, and that's why he ended up here. I don't know if he's in the market to give away discounts, and he's probably going on a 3rd year, and he might have really earned that 3rd year with his play in the postseason. So what do you make of what they're going to do? I think they're going to keep Bennett. I think that, you know, we'll see. Yeah. Obviously, it'll be up to Sam, but I think that's a priority. But after that, I'll be curious to see if they can keep Marchand.
They have to look at their priorities, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
List them 1, 2, 3. Give your best offer to number 1. If you get him, that's great. 2 and 3, it's different. But for Brad Marchand, he earned a 3rd year for sure. I think he's getting a 3rd year. I think there's rumors out there. I think he could have had a 3rd year in Boston. I wonder about the number. He was under market for a long time in an expensive city that takes a lot of money away from you tax-wise. Yeah. I know about it. Yeah. And he's a Hall of Fame player. So maybe he's never been given that, here's a ton of money. He made quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Cap is going up. If you're a number of different teams, you can live with that 3rd year for the culture that he's going to bring and change in your room if you need that. But if he wants to stay here, you don't necessarily need that culture guy. And look, he could win the Conn Smythe. That's how important he is to this team. They have a number of guys that drive that culture in Florida. So it would be interesting. I think he would make less if he stayed here. Obviously, if he hits the open market, I think he's getting paid.
And, the other interesting thing about, both those guys, even though there's a difference in the age, a substantial difference in age between Bennett and Marchand, I mean, this is might be the last best chance to make a lot of money. Like for Marchand, it certainly is. And then for Sam Bennett, he has never been that guy making $10 million a year, although he was a high draft pick. I mean, he was traded from Calgary. They got him down here kind of for a song, and it's worked out unbelievably well for them. But, I could see a case where Sam Bennett says, and, it's family. We've won twice now. If they win, you win 2 cups. You're part of Team Canada. You're probably going to go to the Olympics. Yeah. You won the 4 Nations. Maybe it's time to think about setting us up for the rest of our lives if somebody wants to come in and offer them $9, $10, $11 million. And let's face it, you don't know. It's possible that somebody could come in with that kind of offer. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but he certainly hasn't done anything in the postseason to stop that from happening.
His career high in the low 50s point range would give me pause to do that.
Yeah, but
well, some GMs are desperate.
But this is where it matters, right?
I understand what you're saying. I think whatever he gets from Florida should still be life-changing, life-altering. Yeah. Maybe not to that degree. Yeah. But if I'm Tampa, I'm calling Sam Bennett's agent.
Yeah, you're not. I'm sure they won't be alone. Right. They will not be alone. It'll be interesting. Who are you going to vote for, real quick? Bennett. If you were voting, Bennett or
right now, Bennett.
Marchand?
Right now, Bennett, but
could change.
Show them what you got tonight.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think right now, Bennett. We'll see where it goes from here. All right. Let's take a quick break as the music comes up.
That was nice.
All right. Coming up, we're going to play a little game of First Word. We're going to mention mention a topic, and we'll see the first word that comes to mind. Stanley Cup Final, Game 6. Oh, come on. Can't switch jerseys in the middle of the game.
Pathetic.
And let's take a look at the series summary. Game 6 tonight through the first 5 games. Panthers have the edge where it counts most, 23-16 in goals. Oilers with a lot of shots, so we'll see if they can make that turn into goals this evening. But for now, it's time for a little game of First Word, one of my favorite little games we play. And with that, we bring in JD to host the festivities.
We do love our little bag of dumb games, EJ. This is one of our classics here on First Shift. All righty, you guys know how to play. Fen, to the tweets. We got this one here from Mark Spector this morning. Some chicanery from the Florida Panthers at morning skate. Carter Verhaeghe was alone out on the Oilers practice ice. The rest of the team took their skate. Oilers, they wanted to get out there, but they couldn't until he finished. Florida told them to wait for the flood. Oilers told them to kick rocks. EJ, first word, what about the gamesmanship from Carter Verhaeghe?
Minor. I actually stuck my nose in that other rink, and I saw Verhaeghe was with Jamie Compon, and they were just working on. Jamie was passing pucks to Verhaeghe, and Verhaeghe was working on shooting around the net. So I don't know why that would be the case today, but to me, minor.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, you go one step further.
Nothing burger, if you want. Nothing
All
burger.
Right, I like that.
Jamie Compon is 2007, circa 2007 with me in the practice rink at the Toyota Center. I was with him constantly doing those shooting drills. It's a good thing you do. We do it before games all the time. When your time is up, your time is up. You have to get off the ice. If their time wasn't up, that's your ice. That's Florida's ice. They don't have to get off.
Well, it's a second rink there. That's the thing. So,
listen.
But in the end,
like to get on early?
You say nothing. I say minor. Yeah. I say we move on.
I agree. All right, back to the tweets, Fen. We got this from James Duffy yesterday. Multiple people who are involved or close enough to hear it all say this is the nastiest trash-talking Stanley Cup final they've ever seen or heard, as this case may be. Usually some subjects are off limits, but not here. Everything's on the table. Pure verbal hate. Brian Boyle, first word on pure verbal hate.
I want to say how, because I want to know how. How is my word, because I've been on the ice and nothing was really off limits, especially the farther you went. There's been some things that I've said that I've had to go to confession about. It's not a friendly atmosphere out there when the stakes are raised. I would ask a question. How?
I would just say expected. It's the second year in a row these two teams are playing. There's a lot of hate. So I'm not surprised at all. I just say expected, JD.
All righty, this next one's a little different. First word, this one might be a number. This was a good one from Bryce out there researching with you guys. First word, how many future Hall of Famers are playing this series each?
Oof.
First blush, 6. You want a number? I'll give you 6. I don't even know if that's right. Draisaitl, McDavid, yes. I think long-term, Bouchard has a chance from the Oilers. I think Barkov for sure for me. Marchand for sure. Bobrovsky for sure. That's 6, right? There may be more, so I went with 6.
Yeah, I guess maybe 7. Is there a chance if Corey Perry plays 2 more years and he keeps playing?
You know what? I think that's great. That's
really good off the top of your head, though.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Yeah, well, we try. We do what we can. So 6 or 7, 8, something like that, JD.
All righty, we're changing it up here, fellas. How about a last word? Will the Stanley Cup be handed out tonight? Boiler, you first.
Yes, I think it gets done tonight. This team's just been through so much, and they know, especially after last year, I think it gets done tonight. I love watching Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl play. I want to see a spectacular effort, but everything in my gut is telling me tonight is the last night.
I would say yes as well if we have to make a decision. The games are close. Anything can happen. I would just say this, that in the end, the Florida Panthers are just deeper. Paul Maurice doesn't have to do much. He's in cruise control. These guys know what they're doing. They were here last year. They knew how to do it. They're rehearsing the Cup ceremony behind us as they have to be ready for tonight. But I think we might see it, the real ceremony, later tonight.
Beautiful.
All right, we
Excited
agree.
for it. We do.
We agree.
We usually do.
Yeah, we usually do. Well, you're a man. You're a man of good sense. JD, I'll be rooting for you tonight with that parlay of 4-legger. There's Big Barkov with the C. Panthers, Oilers tonight at 8. NHL Now, next.